Aaron had always been curious. Even as a child, he would wander through the hills near his village, examining stones, climbing trees, and listening to the wind as it whispered through the forest. But lately, his curiosity had grown into something more, something that pulled him toward the mountains far beyond the village, where legends told of a hidden cave. Not just any cave, the elders said, but a crystal cave, glowing with light so pure that it could only be seen by those with a heart full of hope and courage. No one Aaron knew had ever seen it, yet he felt certain it was real. He packed a small bag with simple provisions, a water flask, some bread, a map, and a lantern, and set out early one morning, before the sun had fully risen. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. Birds sang overhead, and the distant sound of a river rushing through the valleys guided him. Aaron's heart beat fast with excitement. This was the kind of adventure he had always dreamed about, a journey that might change his life forever. The path was steep and uneven. Loose stones slid underfoot, and branches scratched at his clothes as he climbed higher. Aaron paused several times to catch his breath, wiping sweat from his forehead. He could see the village far below, tiny and quiet in the morning light. The mountains seemed endless, but he did not feel fear. Instead, he felt a strange sense of belonging, as if the mountains were welcoming him, encouraging him to continue. As the day passed, Aaron discovered signs that he was not the first to come this way. A carefully arranged pile of smooth stones marked the edge of a hidden path. A faint trail of footprints, too small to be his own, seemed to vanish into the underbrush. Aaron smiled to himself. Perhaps someone had found the cave before him. Or perhaps the mountains themselves left these small hints, guiding those who were ready. By mid-afternoon, the sun shone brightly above, making the distant peaks sparkle like silver. Aaron stopped to rest near a small stream, letting the cold water trickle over his hands. As he drank, he noticed tiny flowers growing along the bank, their petals glimmering as if sprinkled with crystal dust. He picked one carefully and tucked it into his bag, a small treasure to remind him of this journey. Something about these flowers made him feel that he was getting closer, that the cave was not far now. Hours later, as the sun began to sink behind the mountains, Aaron found himself at the entrance of a narrow valley. The walls were lined with jagged rocks, and a faint glow shimmered from within. His heart skipped a beat. Could this be it? He stepped closer, careful not to make too much noise. The glow grew stronger, reflecting soft colors, blues, purples, and hints of gold. A gentle breeze seemed to carry a whisper, almost like the mountains were speaking directly to him. Aaron felt a chill, but it was not unpleasant. It was a feeling of awe, of stepping into something greater than himself. He crouched to examine the ground, noticing more of the smooth stones arranged in patterns, almost like someone had carefully placed them to guide travelers. There were tiny flowers here too, glowing faintly in the dim light. Aaron's curiosity turned to wonder. Whoever had been here before had left a quiet message, a secret for those willing to follow. He reached out and touched a stone, and the glow seemed to pulse gently under his fingers. It was as if the cave was alive, welcoming him to continue deeper. For the first time that day, Aaron felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. He did not know what awaited him inside the cave, but he knew that this moment was special. He took a deep breath, adjusted the strap of his bag, and stepped into the narrow opening. The light grew brighter with each step, reflecting off the walls like thousands of tiny stars. Aaron's eyes widened. He had entered a world unlike any he had ever imagined. As he walked further, he could hear the faint echo of water dripping somewhere in the distance. The cave smelled cool and clean, with a hint of minerals and flowers. Aaron paused and let the quiet wash over him. In that moment, he felt a sense of peace he had never known before. And somewhere deep in the glow, he felt it a subtle, almost magical pull, as if the cave itself was guiding him towards something, or someone, waiting in its depths. Aaron smiled to himself. He did not yet know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing clearly: this was the beginning of an adventure he would never forget. Aaron stepped carefully into the deeper part of the cave, his eyes wide with wonder. The crystals along the walls reflected light in soft colors, painting the rocky surfaces with blues, pinks, and gentle golds. Each step he took echoed quietly, and the sound of dripping water from distant stalactites created a calm rhythm. It was a magical place, as if the world outside had disappeared, leaving only him and the glowing cave. As he moved forward, he noticed something unusual. Small footprints, delicate and careful, traced a path through the crystal chambers. Aaron paused. They were not his, nor any animals he had ever seen. His heart beat faster. Perhaps he was not the first visitor in a long time, and perhaps someone else had discovered the secret before him. The thought made him both nervous and excited. A soft, melodic voice echoed in the distance. "Who's there?" it called gently. Aaron froze, looking around the glittering walls. "Hello," he replied, his voice small but steady. The voice came again, a little closer this time, carrying no fear, only curiosity. From behind a curtain of sparkling crystals, a figure appeared. She was young, with long hair that shimmered in the cave's light, and eyes that reflected the glow like tiny stars. Her presence was calm and mysterious, and she smiled softly at Aaron. "Hello," she said again, more warmly this time. "I didn't expect anyone else to find this place." Aaron took a careful step forward. I didn't know anyone else came here," he said. "My name is Aaron. I've heard the legends of this cave, and I had to see it for myself." The girl tilted her head slightly, studying him. "I am Myra," she said. "I come here often. The cave, it has a way of finding people who are curious and brave." Aaron smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and excitement. Myra's presence made the cave feel even more magical, as if her own calm energy blended with the crystal light. He noticed she carried a small satchel and had delicate fingers that traced along the walls without touching the crystals roughly. Myra led him deeper into the cave, showing hidden passages and chambers that Aaron would have never found alone. "Some of the crystals are very rare," she explained. "They grow only in places where the cave's magic is strongest. If you look closely, you can see tiny patterns inside them, like memories of the earth." Aaron knelt to examine one, fascinated by the rainbow-colored reflections inside. He had never seen anything like it. Myra watched him with a gentle smile. "You see, the cave is more than just stones and light," she said softly. "It has stories to tell, for those who are patient enough to listen." As they moved further, they came to a small pool of water at the center of a crystal chamber. The light danced on the surface, creating ripples that shimmered like liquid gold. Aaron leaned over to look at his reflection, and for a moment, he felt a strange warmth in his chest. Myra joined him silently, her presence comforting and quiet. They talked for hours, sharing stories of their lives, dreams, and the adventures that had brought them here. Myra spoke of distant villages, mountains she had climbed, and rivers she had followed. Aaron shared tales of his childhood curiosity, his love for exploring, and the dreams that had led him to this moment. With every word, the bond between them grew stronger, though neither of them said it aloud. When the light from the cave began to dim slightly, signaling the approach of evening. Aaron realized he had lost track of time. "I should probably head back before it gets too dark outside," he said reluctantly. Myra nodded, her expression gentle but tinged with a hint of sadness. "I understand. But the cave will still be here tomorrow. We can meet again if you want." Aaron's heart lifted at her words. "Yes," he said quickly. "I'd like that very much." Before leaving, Myra handed him a small crystal, clear and warm to the touch. "This is for you," she said. "To remember the cave, and today." Aaron held the crystal carefully, feeling a strange energy in his palm. He smiled at Myra, knowing that he had found more than just a magical cave. He had found someone who understood him, someone whose presence made even the quietest moments shine. As he walked back down the mountain path toward his village, the sky turning pink and orange with sunset, Aaron felt a mixture of excitement and longing. The crystal cave was real, more beautiful than he had imagined, but it was Myra's friendship that made it unforgettable. He could not wait to return, to explore more of the cave together, and perhaps, to discover the feelings that had quietly begun to grow between them. For the first time, Aaron felt that adventure was not just about the places he could find, but also about the connections he could make along the way. And in the glow of the distant crystals, he knew that this was only the beginning. Aaron could not stop thinking about the cave. From the moment he had returned to his village, his mind had been filled with images of sparkling crystals, hidden chambers, and the quiet, warm presence of Myra. Every day, he found himself walking toward the mountains, eager to see the glowing entrance again. The thought of exploring the cave with Myra made his heart beat faster, and he felt a strange sense of hope he had never known before. The next morning, Aaron packed his bag with the same careful care as before: water, bread, lantern, and the small crystal Myra had given him. The path up the mountains felt familiar now, yet every step was still filled with wonder. He remembered the tiny footprints, the glowing flowers, and the gentle pull that had guided him last time. It was as if the cave itself was waiting for him, calling him forward. When Aaron reached the cave entrance, he found Myra already there, standing among the softly glowing crystals. She smiled when she saw him, her eyes sparkling with the reflection of the cave light. "I wondered if you would come today," she said warmly. "I thought I might explore a new part of the cave. Would you like to join me?" Aaron nodded eagerly. "I wouldn't miss it for anything," he said. Together, they stepped into the deeper chambers of the cave, where the light bounced off the walls in a million tiny reflections. The air was cool and clean, carrying the faint scent of minerals and wildflowers. It was quiet, but not empty. The cave seemed alive, humming softly beneath their feet. Myra led Aaron through narrow corridors lined with crystals, pointing out patterns inside the stones. "See these lines," she said, touching a blue crystal. "They look like rivers, don't they? They remind me that even in the darkest places, life finds a way to flow." Aaron leaned closer, amazed by the detail. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "It feels like the cave has its own stories to tell." As they walked, they shared stories of their lives. Myra spoke of the mountains she had climbed and the rivers she had followed, but also of quiet nights spent alone, wishing for a friend who understood her. Aaron listened carefully, realizing how much he had in common with her. He told her about his childhood, his love for exploring, and the dreams that had drawn him to the cave. Each story created a stronger bond, a silent understanding that connected them beyond words. They came to a small chamber filled with crystals that glowed like soft sunlight. At the center was a shallow pool of water, its surface perfectly still. Myra knelt beside it and motioned for Aaron to join her. "This place is special," she said. "If you sit quietly, you can hear the cave's heart. It speaks in small ways, guiding those who are patient." Aaron knelt beside her, watching the reflection of the crystals dance on the water. He felt a calm warmth spread through him, and for a moment, the world outside the cave disappeared. Myra's presence was comforting, and he realized he was thinking of her more than he had thought possible. He wanted to share these feelings but did not know how. Myra, sensing his quiet thoughtfulness, smiled softly and squeezed his hand. That simple touch made his heart leap. They spent hours exploring hidden corners of the cave, discovering tiny crystal formations that shimmered like stars. Myra showed Aaron secret paths and narrow openings that led to small chambers filled with glowing stones. Every discovery brought them closer together. They laughed when they stumbled over uneven stones, encouraged each other through narrow passages, and marveled at the beauty surrounding them. As evening approached, they sat together near the central pool, watching the light fade and the crystals glow more brightly in the dimness. Aaron realized he did not want to leave the cave, nor did he want this day to end. "I feel happy here," he admitted quietly. Myra's eyes met his, shining with understanding. "So do I," she replied. "This place feels like home, but also like a beginning." Aaron nodded. He understood then that the cave had given him something more than beauty and adventure. It had given him a connection, a friendship that felt like it had always been waiting. And somewhere deep inside, he felt the stirrings of a deeper feeling, something more than friendship, though he did not yet have the words for it. When they finally left the cave, walking down the mountain as the stars began to appear in the sky, Aaron felt a sense of hope he had never known before. He could not wait to return, to explore more, and to see what other secrets the cave and Myra might reveal. The adventure was far from over, and he knew that every step forward would bring them closer, not just to the wonders of the cave, but to each other. The following morning, Aaron could hardly wait to return to the cave. The memory of the glowing crystals and Myra's gentle presence had stayed with him through the night. He hurried up the mountain path, the crisp air filling his lungs, and soon the familiar shimmer of the cave entrance appeared. Myra was already there, smiling as she spotted him. "Good morning," she said. "I was thinking of exploring a part of the cave I haven't visited in a long time. Would you like to come?" Aaron nodded eagerly. "Yes, let's go." Together, they stepped into the cave, the light immediately wrapping around them like a warm embrace. They laughed softly at the reflections bouncing across the walls, enjoying the quiet comfort of each other's company. As they moved deeper into the cave, they noticed something unusual. The narrow passage that Myra had remembered from her last visit was blocked by a pile of rocks and fallen debris. A recent storm in the mountains must have caused a small rock slide, and now the path to one of the inner chambers was sealed. "Oh no," Myra murmured, examining the blockage. "This used to be one of the most beautiful chambers in the cave. It's where the largest crystals grow." Aaron stepped closer, examining the rocks. "It looks like we can still get through if we work carefully," he said. "We just need to be careful and patient." Myra nodded, and together they began to clear a path. They moved stones, tested the stability of each step, and helped each other climb over uneven surfaces. The work was slow, and the cave's shadows made every movement feel more cautious. But as they labored side by side, something changed between them. They laughed when a small stone slipped, encouraged each other when a passage seemed too narrow, and shared quiet words of reassurance. Every moment of teamwork drew them closer, building trust and a quiet understanding that went beyond words. At one point, Aaron slipped on a loose stone, but Myra's hand caught his arm before he fell. Their eyes met for a brief second, and a strange warmth passed between them. Aaron's heart pounded, and Myra's cheeks turned slightly pink, though she smiled as if nothing had happened. The moment was fleeting, but both of them felt it, a subtle shift in their bond that made the cave feel even more magical. After hours of careful effort, they finally reached the inner chamber. The largest crystals Aaron had ever seen filled the room, glowing with colors that seemed almost alive. The light reflected on their faces, painting them in soft hues of blue and gold. Aaron and Myra stood silently for a moment, taking in the beauty around them, both aware that this shared experience had brought them closer than ever before. "Look at them," Myra whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. "They've grown here for hundreds of years, untouched and perfect. And now we're here together to see them." Aaron nodded, his gaze moving from the crystals to Myra. He wanted to tell her how he felt, how much this adventure and her meant to him, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he offered a small, genuine smile, which Myra returned. They both understood without speaking, a quiet acknowledgement that their bond had grown stronger during this challenge. They explored the chamber slowly, examining each crystal, touching the smooth surfaces gently, and tracing the patterns hidden inside. Myra showed Aaron a tiny cluster of crystals that looked like frozen water drops. "These are my favorite," she said softly. "They remind me that even the smallest things can be beautiful if you notice them." Aaron nodded, realizing that Myra's perspective on life was something he admired deeply. He felt inspired, more aware of the world around him, and more connected to someone who shared his sense of wonder. He also understood that the cave was no longer just a place of adventure, it had become a place where they could grow together, learning not just about crystals, but about trust, patience, and quiet companionship. When it was time to leave, they walked back through the passages, careful not to disturb the rocks or the delicate crystals. Outside, the sky was painted with the soft colors of sunset. Aaron felt a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. They had overcome the challenge together, and in doing so, had discovered something far more valuable than the cave's beauty. "Thank you for helping me today," Myra said softly, her hand brushing against his as they prepared to part ways. "I couldn't have done it alone." Aaron smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the sun. "Neither could I," he replied. "I'm glad we did this together." As he walked back down the mountain toward his village, the cave's glow fading behind him, Aaron realized something important. The adventure was not only about discovering hidden places, it was about discovering each other. And somewhere deep in his heart, he knew that this was only the beginning of a journey far greater than either of them had imagined. The following morning, Aaron woke with a quiet excitement he could hardly contain. The memory of yesterday's adventure, the laughter, the teamwork, and Myra's gentle presence kept replaying in his mind. Today, he would return to the Crystal Cave, and this time, he felt a stronger sense that something important awaited him there. The path up the mountain was bright with early sunlight, and the air smelled of pine and earth. Aaron's steps were quick and eager. When he reached the familiar cave entrance, Myra was already waiting, leaning against a rock with her usual calm smile. "Good morning," she said. "Are you ready for another adventure?" Aaron nodded, feeling a flutter in his chest. "I'm ready," he replied. They stepped together into the cave, where the walls sparkled with light, and the faint hum of crystals echoed softly around them. It was a quiet, magical world, and walking beside Myra made it feel even more alive. They wandered through chambers they had explored before, stopping at favorite crystal formations. But today, Aaron felt a deeper sense of awareness. Every glance at Myra, every shared smile, carried something unspoken. The bond between them had grown, and Aaron realized that his feelings for her were more than friendship. His heart beat faster, but he was unsure how to express what he felt. Eventually, they reached the heart of the cave, a vast chamber filled with the largest and brightest crystals they had ever seen. The light reflected on the walls, creating shimmering patterns that danced across the floor. Myra's eyes widened with wonder. "This place, it feels like the center of the world," she whispered. Aaron stepped closer to her, his hands slightly trembling. He had decided that today he would speak, no matter how nervous he felt. "Myra," he began, his voice soft but steady, "there's something I need to tell you." Myra turned to look at him, her eyes curious and calm. "Yes," she said, encouraging him with a small smile. Aaron took a deep breath. I don't just enjoy exploring the cave with you," he said. I care about you, more than I've ever cared about anyone before. Being here with you, seeing this place, and sharing these moments, it's made me realize how special you are to me." For a moment, the cave was silent except for the faint dripping of water. Myra's eyes glistened in the crystal light, and she stepped closer. "Aaron," she said softly, "I feel the same way. I've felt it for some time, but I didn't know how to tell you. You make everything brighter, like the cave itself." Relief and happiness surged through Aaron. He smiled, unable to stop himself from reaching for her hand. Myra took it gently, and the warmth of her touch made his heart leap. For the first time, he felt the magical energy of the cave not just around him, but within him. The crystals seemed to shimmer more brightly, reflecting the joy and connection between them. They spent the next hours exploring the chamber together, their hands sometimes brushing, their laughter echoing softly. The small crystals that Myra loved so much seemed to glow in response, as if the cave itself was celebrating their shared happiness. Aaron showed her the patterns inside a rare crystal he had found, and Myra marveled at it, her eyes sparkling. As the light from the crystals bathed them in a gentle glow, they shared stories of their dreams for the future. Aaron spoke of adventures he hoped to have, and Myra shared her own hopes. Each word, each glance, strengthened the bond between them. In the heart of the cave, they realized that their connection was more than just friendship. It was a deep, unspoken love that had grown naturally through their shared experiences. When it was time to leave, they lingered by the pool in the center of the chamber. The water reflected the crystals above, creating a soft, shimmering mirror. Aaron looked at Myra and smiled. "I don't want this day to end," he said. Myra squeezed his hand gently. "It doesn't have to," she replied. "The cave will always be here, and we can return anytime. But more importantly, we have each other now, no matter where we go." Aaron nodded, feeling a sense of peace and excitement. The adventure of the cave had brought them together, but their journey was only beginning. Hand in hand, they walked back through the glowing passages, each step a promise of shared adventures, laughter, and love. As they emerged into the fading sunlight outside, Aaron realized that the cave had given him something far greater than crystals or hidden chambers. It had given him Myra, a friend, a companion, and now, a partner in the adventure of life. The mountains seemed brighter, the air warmer, and the world full of endless possibilities. For the first time, Aaron understood that the most extraordinary discoveries were not just the wonders hidden in the earth, but the hearts and souls we find along the way. And in Myra's eyes, he saw a reflection of all the hope, courage, and joy he had ever felt, multiplied 100 times by the bond they now shared. The morning air was cool as Aaron and Myra climbed toward the cave once more. Since their confession in the heart of the crystal chamber, everything had felt different. Even the smallest reflections of light on the crystals reminded them of the bond they now shared. They laughed easily together, their steps light as they followed the winding path up the mountains. The world outside seemed ordinary in comparison, but the thought of the cave waiting for them filled their hearts with excitement. When they reached the entrance, the familiar glow of crystals welcomed them, gentle and warm. Myra glanced at Aaron with a soft smile. "Shall we explore deeper today?" she asked. Aaron nodded, feeling a thrill of anticipation. "Yes. I want to see every corner with you," he said. Together, they stepped into the cave, the light wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. They wandered through chambers they had already discovered, marveling again at the shimmering walls and the patterns within the crystals. But today, they were not just explorers, they were companions sharing every sight, every sound, every discovery. Myra stopped before a small cluster of crystals that glowed softly with pale blue light. "These are special," she said. "They respond to quiet thoughts and gentle hearts. Watch." Aaron watched as Myra touched the crystals gently, her fingers barely brushing their surfaces. Slowly, the glow shifted and brightened, as if responding to her presence. Aaron reached out and touched them too, and he felt a subtle warmth spreading through his hands. Together, they laughed softly. "It's like the cave knows we're here together," he whispered. They moved deeper into a narrow passage, where the walls were lined with tiny crystals that reflected even the faintest light. As they walked, Myra began to speak quietly about her hopes for the future, about seeing new lands, meeting people from distant villages, and learning about the world beyond the mountains. Aaron listened, captivated by her words, and shared his own dreams of adventures yet to come, of discovering hidden places, and of creating stories that would last long after they had left. Sitting together by a small underground pool, they spoke of more personal thoughts, fears they had never shared with anyone else, moments of loneliness, and the small joys that made life beautiful. Aaron told Myra about nights spent wondering if he would ever find someone who understood him, and Myra revealed how the cave had always been a secret place where she could feel calm and safe. They listened, encouraged, and comforted each other, learning not just about the cave, but about the hearts of the person beside them. Time seemed to pass differently inside the cave. Hours slipped away unnoticed as they explored hidden corners, examined tiny crystal formations, and shared quiet laughter. The glow of the crystals painted them in soft colors, highlighting the smiles on their faces and the warmth in their eyes. Every moment felt meaningful, as if the cave itself had slowed time to allow them to savor it. At one point, Aaron noticed Myra looking at him thoughtfully. "You know," she said, "I used to think adventures were only about discovering places. But now I realize that the greatest adventure is sharing them with someone you care about." Aaron's heart swelled with warmth. "I feel the same," he replied. "The cave is amazing, but being here with you, that's what makes it truly special." They continued to explore, carefully navigating small passages that opened into new chambers filled with faintly glowing crystals. Some chambers had crystals shaped like tiny flowers, others like frozen waterfalls. Every discovery was a shared marvel, a moment to remember. They found joy in each new turn, encouragement in each obstacle, and comfort in each other's presence. When the time came to leave, they sat together near the central pool one last time, watching the light of the crystals reflect softly in the water. Aaron held Myra's hand gently. "I'm grateful for you," he said quietly. "For this adventure, and for being here with me." Myra squeezed his hand in return. "And I'm grateful for you," she said. "The cave brought us together, but it's what we do here, our shared moments, that make it magical. As they stepped back out into the daylight, the world seemed brighter, their hearts lighter. They had discovered the cave's hidden beauty, yes, but more importantly, they had discovered the depths of their own hearts and the joy of sharing a true connection. Their adventure was no longer just about hidden chambers and glowing crystals, it was about companionship, trust, and the unspoken understanding that they would face life's journeys together. Aaron and Myra walked down the mountain, the crystal cave glowing faintly behind them, a reminder of the magic that had brought them together and the endless possibilities waiting ahead. The morning sun rose gently over the mountains, spilling light across the paths Aaron and Myra had walked so many times. Today felt different, though. The air was calm, the breeze carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers, and the mountains seemed to glow with a quiet magic. Aaron felt a warmth in his heart as he approached the cave entrance, and he saw Myra waiting with her usual gentle smile. "Good morning," she said softly. "Are you ready for one last adventure here?" Aaron nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and peace. "Yes. Let's see what the cave has for us today." They stepped into the cave together, the crystals reflecting light in colors that seemed brighter than ever. The familiar hum of the stones and the dripping of distant water welcomed them. It had become more than just a place to explore, it was their sanctuary, a symbol of the bond they shared. As they walked through the chambers, they remembered their previous adventures, the narrow passages they had navigated, the pools of water that mirrored the crystal glow, and the challenges they had faced together. Each memory brought a quiet smile to their faces. Aaron realized how much the cave had changed him. It had taught him patience, courage, and the joy of shared discovery. But most importantly, it had brought him Myra, and that was the greatest adventure of all. In the heart of the cave, the largest chamber awaited them. Crystals of every color shimmered softly, and the light seemed to embrace them as they entered. Aaron paused, taking a deep breath, and looked at Myra. "This place has shown us so much," he said quietly. "Not just beauty, but how to care, trust, and share, and it's brought us together." Myra's eyes glimmered in the crystal light. "Yes," she said. "I never imagined a place could feel so alive. But now I know it's not just the cave. It's us, together." Aaron smiled and gently took her hand. "Myra, I want our adventures to continue, not just in the cave, but everywhere. I want to share every step of life with you." Myra's smile widened, and she nodded. "I feel the same, Aaron. The cave brought us together, but our journey is just beginning. I want to be with you, wherever life leads." For a moment, they stood in quiet wonder, hand in hand, feeling the crystal glow around them. The cave seemed to pulse softly, like it understood the joy in their hearts. Aaron felt a surge of hope and happiness. He realized that this magical place had prepared them for more than exploration, it had prepared them for a shared future. They moved through the chambers slowly, lingering at each favorite spot. They laughed as they remembered the times they had stumbled over rocks or squeezed through narrow passages. They marveled again at the small, delicate crystals Myra had always loved, and Aaron showed her the patterns hidden inside the stones, just as they had done before. Each step was filled with gentle joy, a reminder of how far they had come together. Finally, they reached the central pool. The water reflected the shimmering light from the crystals above, creating a mirror of endless colors. Aaron knelt beside it, and Myra joined him. "Look at this," he said softly. "It reminds me that even the smallest things can hold so much beauty." Myra nodded. "And even the quietest moments can be the most meaningful," she said. They watched the reflections together, their shoulders touching, feeling the comfort of being side by side. As they prepared to leave the cave, Aaron took a deep breath. "Let's promise to return here," he said, "no matter what adventures life brings. This cave will always be our place." Myra squeezed his hand gently. "I promise," she said. "And more than that, I promise to face every adventure with you inside the cave and out." Together, they stepped out into the sunlight, the mountains stretching endlessly before them. The world outside felt brighter, full of hope and possibility. Aaron and Myra walked side by side, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. The crystal cave stood quietly behind them, glowing faintly in the morning light, a reminder of their journey and the love they had found. It had been a place of mystery, challenge, and wonder, but most of all, it had been the place where two hearts discovered each other. And as they walked down the mountain, the air filled with the songs of birds and the soft rustle of leaves, Aaron and Myra knew that their adventure would never truly end. They would explore the world together, face challenges, celebrate joys, and return to the cave whenever they needed a reminder of the magic that had brought them together. For in the glow of the crystal cave, they had discovered not just hidden beauty, but the true power of love, trust, and companionship, a bond that would shine forever.